Chosen ones, listen closely, because this is not coming to you by accident, and it is not coming to you casually. There is a weight to this moment, a seriousness to this season, and a quiet urgency in the air that only those who are spiritually alert can feel. If you've been sensing a pull inward and need to be more careful with your words, your plans, and your energy, that is not fear, it is wisdom. In 2026, discernment will be more valuable than visibility, and silence will protect you more than explanation. God is not asking you to hide who you are, but He is warning you not to hand sacred things to people who have not earned access to them. Not everyone clapping for you is for you. Not everyone asking questions deserves answers. And not everyone close to you is meant to know what God is doing behind the scenes. There are seasons when God tells you to speak boldly, and then there are seasons when He tells you to guard your mouth like a gate. This is one of those seasons. What He is building in your life is fragile before it becomes formidable. What is forming in the spirit can be disrupted in the natural. Too much talking invites interference. Too much explaining drains power. Too much revealing gives the enemy a blueprint. You don't owe everyone clarity. You don't owe everyone access. You don't owe everyone the story God is still writing. The first thing you must never reveal is the full vision God has given you. Not the polished version, not the end result, not the private downloads that make your heart race when no one else is around. Vision spoken too early becomes vulnerable. People will misunderstand it, minimize it, mock it, or worse, compete with it. Some will smile while secretly doubting you. Others will project their limitations onto your calling. And some will hear it only to plant seeds of discouragement where faith should be growing. God often shows you the destination before He gives you the path, not so you can announce it, but so you can endure the journey. There are things God shows you that are meant to sustain you, not to impress others. When you speak vision prematurely, you trade intimacy with God for validation from people. You start managing reactions instead of nurturing obedience. You begin explaining instead of building. And little by little, the fire that was meant to burn quietly within you gets exposed to winds that were never meant to touch it. Jesus Himself did not reveal everything at once. He spoke in parables, not because truth was weak, but because timing was sacred. If the Son of God understood restraint, how much more should you? The second thing you must never reveal is your next move. In 2026, strategy will matter more than speed. Silence will outpace noise. Some of you are preparing to shift, to pivot, to step away, to level up, to release something familiar for something divinely unfamiliar. And the temptation will be to announce it, to test the waters, to see who supports you, to feel less alone in the decision. But every time you announce your next move before it's executed, you invite opinions that God never authorized. You allow confusion to enter what was once clear. You give people time to sabotage, delay, or subtly influence your direction. There is power in moving quietly. There is protection in letting results speak. When you announce your plans, people feel entitled to your process. They ask questions that create doubt. They offer advice that carries fear. They remind you of past failures instead of future promises. And some will intentionally or unintentionally block doors simply because they don't want you to outgrow the version of you they're comfortable with. You don't need permission to obey God. You don't need consensus to follow conviction. And you don't need an audience to make a move that heaven has already approved. God often gives instructions that only make sense once you've completed them. That's why He told Noah to build before the rain, Abraham to move without a map, and Joseph to stay silent while his dreams were being tested. If Joseph had explained every step, he would have tried to escape the pit and missed the palace. Some processes only work if they remain private. Your obedience doesn't need applause, it needs accuracy. The third thing you must never reveal is your spiritual battles and vulnerabilities to the wrong people. This is where many chosen ones stumble, not because they are weak, but because they are open-hearted. You feel deeply, you trust easily, you believe the best in people, and while that is beautiful, it can also be dangerous when not paired with discernment. Not everyone who listens is interceding, not everyone who comforts is safe. Some people gather information not to pray, but to gossip. Some people pretend to care, but secretly rejoice when you struggle because it makes them feel better about their own stagnation. Your wounds are not for public consumption. Your prayers are not group discussions. Your tears are not explanations. There is a difference between godly counsel and emotional dumping. There is a difference between accountability and exposure. When you share your weaknesses with the wrong people, you give them leverage. They may use your pain to control you, your fears to limit you, or your past to define you. What God is healing in private should not be debated in public. Even Jesus was selective. He healed the masses, but he revealed his anguish to only a few. He prayed in solitude. He withdrew often. He didn't explain himself to everyone. Silence was part of his strength. And in 2026, silence will be part of yours too. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming discerning. You are not shutting people out. You are protecting what God is building within you. This is not a season to be careless with words. Words create atmosphere. Words open doors. Words invite resistance. The enemy doesn't need to guess when you announce everything. He doesn't need to investigate when you overshare. Spiritual warfare is often fueled by information. That's why wisdom speaks softly and moves deliberately. You don't have to lie. You don't have to pretend. You simply don't have to explain. Some of you are learning that privacy is not secrecy. It is stewardship. You are stewarding your calling, your peace, your momentum. You are learning that access is earned, not assumed, that everyone doesn't get the front row seat to your becoming, that some people only deserve the after story, not the behind the scenes, and that's okay. In 2026, God is refining your voice. He's teaching you when to speak and when to stay quiet, when to share and when to guard, when to open doors and when to close them without explanation. This is not about fear. It's about alignment. It's about timing. It's about maturity. The higher you go, the quieter you must become, because elevation attracts attention, and not all attention is pure. You will notice a shift in yourself. You'll feel less inclined to argue, to defend, to prove. You'll feel stronger saying, I'm not discussing that. You'll feel peace in letting people misunderstand you. You'll feel clarity in moving without broadcasting. That is growth. That is wisdom. That is God training you for what's next. Some blessings can only survive in silence. Some breakthroughs need darkness before they meet light. Some transformations require anonymity before recognition. If God is asking you to be quiet, it's because he's about to be loud on your behalf. If he's pulling you inward, it's because he's preparing to send you outward with power. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust the instruction. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not being isolated. You are being insulated. You are not being delayed. You are being protected. And as you move through this season with discipline, restraint, and obedience, you'll begin to notice that things fall into place without you having to announce them, explain them, or fight for them. Doors will open quietly. Connections will align naturally. Opportunities will find you without effort, and you'll realize that obedience, spoken in silence, carries more authority than declarations made in noise. So guard your vision, guard your next move, guard your vulnerabilities. Let God reveal you when the time is right. Let him defend you without your interference. Let him elevate you without your announcement. Because what he is doing in you in this season is too valuable, too strategic, and too powerful to be exposed too soon. And the reason this protection matters so much now is because the opposition you face in 2026 will not always come through obvious enemies. It will come through familiarity. It will come through casual conversations. It will come through people who have access to you simply because they always have. That's why God is sharpening your discernment. He's teaching you that proximity does not equal permission. History does not equal entitlement. Just because someone walked with you in one season does not mean they are authorized to speak into the next. You are entering a phase where God is dealing more with alignment than effort. You won't have to force outcomes the way you once did, but you will have to protect environments. You will have to choose silence over self-expression at times. You will have to resist the urge to correct narratives, explain delays, or justify changes. And that restraint will feel uncomfortable at first because you're used to being understood. You're used to being the one who bridges gaps, smooths tension, keeps everyone comfortable. But growth will require you to disappoint some people without explaining yourself. There will be moments when people ask, "What are you working on?" And you'll feel the words rising in your chest, ready to pour out. And in that moment, you'll sense a check in your spirit. Not because what you're doing is wrong, but because the listener is not right. You'll learn to smile and give a simple answer that protects the deeper truth. You'll learn that you can be honest without being detailed, that you can be kind without being open, that you can be loving without being accessible. In previous seasons, God may have owed you to share more openly because exposure didn't threaten the assignment. But now the assignment is heavier. The responsibility is greater. The ripple effect is wider. And with greater impact comes greater scrutiny. People will analyze you. They will compare you. They will form opinions without full context. And if you give them pieces of the puzzle without the whole picture, they will fill in the gaps with assumptions. Silence removes their ability to misinterpret. You will also notice that as you become more guarded, some people will accuse you of changing. They will say you're distant, secretive, different. And in a way, they're right. You are different. Not because you've grown cold, but because you've grown aware. Awareness always looks like distance to those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. But God is not calling you to be the same version of yourself in every season. He's calling you to be the obedient version. There is a temptation in chosen ones to over-explain because you don't want to be misunderstood. But misunderstanding is sometimes the price of obedience. Even Jesus was misunderstood. Even when he spoke plainly, people twisted his words. So understand this clearly. Being silent will not guarantee that people understand you, but speaking prematurely will almost guarantee interference. Choose the misunderstanding that still allows God to work freely. Another reason God is urging you to be careful with revelation is because jealousy will be low. Here in 2026. People will smile while secretly measuring themselves against you. They will support you until your progress highlights their stagnation. And the moment they feel left behind, their encouragement will turn into subtle resistance. Not everyone who celebrates you wants you to surpass them. Some only want you to stay close enough to feel superior. When you reveal your plans, you give insecure people time to react. When you move quietly, you give God space to move ahead of you. That's why sudden success often comes after seasons of silence. People wake up one day and say, "How did that happen?" It happened quietly, it happened consistently, it happened without announcements. That is the advantage of obedience without explanation. You may also feel God calling you to separate emotionally from conversations that drain you. Not every discussion needs your input. Not every opinion needs your response. In 2026, peace will be more valuable than being right. You will learn to disengage without guilt, to let people be wrong about you, to let silence do the talking. This is not weakness, it is mastery. There will be moments when you feel lonely in this restraint, when you want to share your excitement, your fears, your breakthroughs, and God will meet you there. He will become your primary confidant again. Prayer will feel deeper. Journaling will feel safer. Worship will feel more intimate. You will rediscover what it means to process things with God first instead of people. And in that space, clarity will sharpen. Some of the delays you experienced before were not because God was slow, but because information leaked too soon. Words spoken out of season invited resistance. This time, God is correcting the pattern. He's teaching you that just because something is exciting doesn't mean it's shareable. Just because something is heavy doesn't mean it's discussable. Timing is everything. You will also notice that when you stop explaining, manipulation loses its power. People can't twist what they don't know. They can't sabotage what they can't see. They can't drain what they can't access. Silence becomes a shield. And the more you practice it, the more confident you become in your own discernment. This season will also reveal who truly supports you. Those who are meant to walk with you will not demand explanations. They will trust your process. They will respect your boundaries. They will celebrate outcomes without needing previews. And those who leave because you won't reveal everything were only attached to information, not to you. God is also warning you about sharing spiritual experiences too loosely. Dreams, revelations, confirmations, these are sacred. Not everyone understands them and not everyone needs to. Some people will reduce them to imagination. Others will attempt to interpret them through their own lens. And some will use them to elevate themselves while questioning your authenticity. Guard these encounters, write them down, pray over them. Let God unfold them. In 2026, obedience will look quieter than it used to. Less posting, less announcing, less explaining, more doing, more listening, more watching, more trusting. You will move with intention instead of impulse, with conviction instead of consensus. And that shift will feel strange at first, but then it will feel powerful. You will start noticing that when you keep things between you and God, they move faster. There's less friction, less doubt, less emotional noise. You won't need external validation because internal alignment will be enough. You'll feel anchored, grounded, certain. This doesn't mean you isolate completely. It means you choose wisely. One or two trusted voices, one or two safe spaces, not a crowd, not a comment section, not casual acquaintances. Wisdom always narrows the circle. As this continues, you'll also become more aware of spiritual counterfeits. People who sound supportive but subtly sow doubt. People who ask questions that feel harmless but leave you feeling unsettled. That discomfort is discernment. Honor it. You don't need proof to protect your peace. You don't need evidence to set boundaries. You need obedience. God is not trying to make you mysterious. He's trying to make you effective. And effectiveness often requires invisibility before impact. There are things He can do through you only if you stay focused, only if you stay guarded, only if you stay aligned. When you look back later, you'll realize that the inch wasn't emptiness, it was incubation. The quiet wasn't stagnation, it was strategy. The restraint wasn't fear, it was preparation. And the people who once questioned your quietness will eventually ask how you did it so seamlessly. So when the urge comes to explain yourself, pause. When the desire to announce arises, pray. When you feel pressured to reveal, resist. God is working in ways you don't need to narrate. He is arranging outcomes you don't need to predict. He's defending you in rooms you will never enter. This is a refining season, a sharpening season, a maturing season. And the more you honor the instruction to guard your words, the more you will see the fruit of obedience unfold effortlessly. You won't have to convince. You won't have to compete. You won't have to chase. What is meant for you will recognize you. And as you continue walking through this with discipline, something subtle but powerful will happen inside you. Your confidence will stop coming from people agreeing with you. Your peace will stop depending on being understood. Your joy will stop being tied to external affirmation. You will know who you are, whose you are, and where you're going, even if no one else does yet. That inner knowing will steady you. It will keep you focused when distractions arise. It will keep you calm when rumors circulate. It will keep you patient when progress feels hidden. Because deep down, you'll understand that what God is preparing in you does not need to be rushed, revealed, or rehearsed out loud for it to be real. And that understanding will begin to change the way you move through every room, every conversation, every opportunity. You will no longer enter spaces seeking permission or validation. You will enter already assured, already aligned, already grounded. And because of that, you won't feel the need to prove anything. Proving is noisy, knowing is quiet. Knowing lets you sit back and observe while others reveal themselves. Knowing allows you to listen more than you speak. Knowing keeps you from reacting emotionally to things that once would have pulled you into unnecessary battles. In this season, God is teaching you the art of spiritual pacing. You don't need to rush ahead of Him, and you don't need to drag people along with you. Some people are meant to watch from a distance until the fruit speaks for itself. Others are meant to re-enter your life later once the foundation is solid and the structure can't be shaken by opinions. Right now, the work is internal, and internal work requires privacy. You may notice that conversations that once energized you now leave you drained. That's not because you've become antisocial. It's because your spirit is more sensitive. You're more aware of what costs you peace. You're more aware of when you're leaking energy through overexposure. God is fine-tuning your discernment so you can recognize when a conversation is an exchange and when it's an extraction. And once you recognize that, you'll feel less guilty about pulling back. There will be moments when people sense the shift in you and try to pull information out of you. They'll ask indirect questions. They'll disguise curiosity as concern. They'll frame intrusion as interest. And you'll feel the pressure to be polite, to be open, to be the version of yourself they're used to. But God is strengthening your resolve to say less without explaining why. You don't owe anyone access to your inner world. This restraint will also protect you from spiritual burnout. Chosen ones often feel responsible for carrying others emotionally, spiritually, even mentally. You've been the listener, the encourager, the fixer. But in 2026, God is recalibrating those roles. He's teaching you that you can care without carrying, that you can love without absorbing, that you can help without depleting yourself. And part of that recalibration is learning when not to speak. When you share less, you hear more. When you speak less, you discern more. Silence sharpens perception. It allows you to pick up on tone, intention, energy. You'll start noticing who listens to understand and who listens to respond, who celebrates quietly and who competes silently, who respects your boundaries and who resents them. All of this information becomes clear when you stop filling the space with words. There is also a prophetic element to this silence. God is positioning you so that when you do speak, it carries weight. Words spoken sparingly carry authority. When you're not constantly explaining yourself, people lean in when you finally say something. Your voice becomes intentional instead of habitual. And that shift will open doors that noise never could. You may feel moments of impatience, moments where you want to fast forward to the visible outcome, moments where you want to say, just wait, you'll see. But faith doesn't need to announce itself. Faith moves even when unseen. And God is reminding you that He is not late, He is precise. What feels slow is often strategic. Some of what you're protecting now is not just for you, it's for the people who will be impacted later. If the foundation is compromised, the structure won't hold the weight of influence. God is more concerned with longevity than visibility. He's more concerned with depth than speed. And that's why He's urging you to guard what's growing. You will also learn that silence is a form of humility, not false humility that shrinks, but true humility that trusts God to speak when necessary. You don't need to announce your obedience. You don't need to broadcast your sacrifices. God sees what others don't, and He rewards what's done in secret. In this season, prayer will become less about asking and more about aligning, less about explaining your situation and more about listening for instruction. You'll find yourself sitting quietly with God, not needing words, just presence. And in those quiet moments, clarity will come, direction will settle, anxiety will loosen its grip. You may also experience a pruning of relationships. Not dramatic endings, but gradual distancing. Conversations will fade, invitations will slow. And while that may feel uncomfortable, it's necessary. God is making room, making space, making sure that when the next phase unfolds, there's no clutter competing for your attention. This doesn't mean and you become cold or unreachable. It means you become intentional, warm but not porous, kind but not careless, open-hearted but guarded. That balance is maturity. Maturity is what qualifies you for what's coming. There will be times when people project their insecurities onto your silence. They'll assume you think you're better than them. They'll assume you're hiding something. They'll assume motives that aren't there. Let them. Assumptions reveal more about the person making them than the person being assumed about. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. Some things resolve themselves with time. As you continue practicing restraint, you'll notice your confidence stabilizing. Not the loud kind, but the unshakable kind. The kind that doesn't rise and fall based on reactions. The kind that stays steady even when no one is watching. That confidence will anchor you when challenges arise, because challenges will come. Silence doesn't eliminate opposition. It prepares you for it. When storms hit, you won't be scrambling for approval or reassurance. You'll already be rooted, already anchored, already clear on what matters and what doesn't. God is also teaching you the value of mystery, not secrecy born of fear, but mystery born of wisdom. Everything doesn't need to be explained. Everything doesn't need to be named. Some things are meant to unfold gradually, revealing their meaning layer by layer. Mystery keeps you curious, keeps you humble, keeps you dependent on God rather than outcomes. In 2026, you will see the fruit of guarded obedience in subtle ways. Stress will lessen. Focus will sharpen. Discouragement will lose its voice. You'll move with a quiet assurance that things are aligning even when you can't see the full picture yet. You'll also become more comfortable with being alone without feeling lonely. Solitude will feel restorative rather than empty. Time with yourself and God will feel rich rather than awkward. And in that space, creativity will awaken. Ideas will flow. Solutions will emerge without force. This season is not about shrinking your light. It's about protecting the flame until it can burn steadily without being extinguished by wind. You are not hiding, you are being hidden. Hidden for preparation, hidden for protection, hidden for timing. And when the time comes for visibility, it will be unmistakable. You won't need to announce it. People will see it. They will feel it. They will recognize the authority that comes from a life lived quietly with God. Until then, continue walking in obedience without commentary. Continue trusting without evidence. Continue building without applause. The silence you're practicing now is shaping you in ways noise never could. And every step you take with discernment is moving you closer to a season where what God has done in private will speak louder than anything you could have ever said out loud. Chosen one, as you step forward from this moment, understand that this warning is not meant to make you fearful, guarded, or withdrawn from life. It is meant to make you wise. God is not silencing you to diminish you. He is quieting you to deepen you. What He is forming in you cannot be rushed, exposed, or handled casually. The restraint you are practicing is not loss, it is leverage. Every time you choose discretion over disclosure, obedience over explanation, alignment over approval, you are partnering with heaven in ways you may not fully see yet, but you will feel the results. There will come a moment when the silence breaks, when what God has been shaping in private stands confidently in public without needing defense or validation. And when that moment arrives, you'll realize that guarding your words, your plans, and your vulnerabilities was never about hiding. It was about honoring the weight of the calling placed on your life. Stay steady, stay discerning, stay obedient. Let God speak for you, move for you, and reveal you in His time, because what He is bringing forth through you will not need explanation. It will carry undeniable authority all on its own.